Okay, so I'm going to address the problem that a lot of people come to me with, saying, why is it that I seem to always feel worse when I'm doing things that should be helping? Now, there's a couple of possible reasons for that. So the first one I just want to put out of the way: if you're doing stuff too fast for your body, too much, too quickly, it can send you into a tailspin, and that's just because you're going too fast. And you should be working with a practitioner like myself so that we can try and get the speed correct. But even then, there are some people who are going to get some symptoms that may be worse or different to they had before. What is going on? So let me try and cover that as simply as I can. So the normal intuitive assumption is that if you're in a state of imbalance that's creating symptoms and you do good things that move you towards balance, it should theoretically be like an improvement in a line like that as you get better because you're moving towards balance. That would make sense, but it's not true. So let me explain why it's not true. So if we can imagine that the perfect balance is 0, and then 10 is the most out of balance you can be before you're a goner. Okay, so you're somewhere between 0 and 10 at any given point. So 0, perfect balance. Let's say you're a 10, and now you do some good stuff to help balance you. So you move to a 9 or an 8 or a 7. Okay, so that's moving towards balance. That's good, right? But 7 is still a state of imbalance, and every state of imbalance has symptoms attached to it. So you're gonna still have symptoms which might be different to the symptoms that were 10, and not automatically better. It could be worse symptoms. Of course, different symptoms, some people can handle certain types of symptoms better than other symptoms. So you might be suffering worse symptoms at 7 than you were at 8 or 9 or 10. Let me give you an example of how that works in real life. Let's say you are asleep and you're sleeping on your arm, and you wake up and you have a dead arm. That's an unpleasant symptom, and we know the cause. It's because you've reduced the blood flow into your arm by lying on your arm. Okay, so you've got a restricted blood flow that's caused a very unpleasant sensation we call dead arm. Okay, so now what are you going to do about that? Well, you're going to get off your arm. Okay, so your blood can flow back in and fix it, and it does. It flows back in and fixes it. Maybe you wiggle your fingers a little bit to speed that process up. However, even though in this case you understand completely the cause and you can 100% fix that cause instantaneously, which usually you can't, but here you can, even then you will often go from horrible dead arm to raging pins and needles before it fixes it. So the step from the out of balance towards the balance goes to another, in this case one step of out of balance, which can be worse than the first stage. So that is an example. You don't just jump from out of balance to balance in one hit. You do it in steps, 1, 2, 3 or more steps, and each of those steps can carry different symptoms. That's a good example. Spinning around until you're so dizzy you fall over is another example. You might decide to stop spinning before you get to the point where you fall over, only to find that when you stop spinning, instead of improving, the room starts to circle and you're worse after you stop than you were while you were spinning. Same kind of thing. So going from a state of imbalance towards a state of balance is always new states of imbalance, and every state of imbalance can carry symptoms, and sometimes those symptoms can be worse. So what you need to know is, am I moving to a better state? You need to know that, because then you can kind of handle for a while some unpleasant symptoms. But also, the slower you do it, the less likely to have symptoms. Going back to your dead arm, if you get off your arm but don't wiggle your fingers, that will slow up the blood what's the word? Getting back anyway. It will slow that process up and reduce any pins and needles that you might have. So you can slow things up, but you can't necessarily completely avoid a set of symptoms at a particular stage of imbalance. So that's something you have to live with. You can adjust it, you can slow it down, but you can't always completely avoid it. I hope that helps you to understand why sometimes things get a little worse in the process of improving things.